to uphold and nurture that freedom.
Isn't it though, Chika, not to challenge you a little, but isn't it, writing a letter that of support or of concern, isn't that at least a minimum of something we can do to highlight some of the issues and in international circles when lawyers specifically are targeted or legal professionals or others are, the rule of law is sort of being attacked and trampled on? Shouldn't we do something at a minimum, or what approach would you prefer to see?
Well, and I would agree with you if that's all we could do.
Got it.
But that is not all we could do.
Got
I
it.
think that it would be more meaningful, and probably Beijing would hear us more if the Law Society passed a motion to write to Justice McLaughlin and say, we think you should resign. Could anyone argue that passing that motion would be a more significant act than writing that letter to Xi Jinping? And could anyone argue that that motion is more within the purview of Canadians rather than that letter lecturing a foreign head of state?
Well, that's, definitely something that was even debated, I think, that day. It's all part of the public record. It's all available for people to see. It's, and I think there was a myriad of opinions. There was some strong opinions on whether we should be telling the Chief Justice at all what we think of her role or what she chose.
But we're okay to tell the president of a foreign country what to do?
Fair enough. Very good point, Kun. Very good point. And I'm not the one promoting that view, of course. The opposite view. I'm just recalling what I heard. There was quite a bit of opinions, and
I will say this as an Asian. Sometimes I feel that the Western countries use the situation in Asia as a soapbox for virtue signaling, and I resent that. I really resent people writing these letters, empty gestures to Xi Jinping, knowing full well that he will never bother to read it, let alone act on it, while there are other Canadians doing things that we should be commenting on. And then we say, oh, we can't possibly do that.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful. And what made me upset is it would be something that really would have an impact. There's no question. Madam Chief Justice McLaughlin, we keep calling her that. It's amazing. It just gives you an indication of how people think about her. But she reacted in the press repeatedly to this sort of criticism, right? Right,
stings. And no one reacted in the press about the letter that the Law Society wrote to Xi Jinping.
No,
right.
But people in the Law Society who oppose this motion, sometimes I question people who engage in this kind of virtue signaling. It's are you virtue signaling because it excuses the fact that you don't do something? Because this could be something that you can do, but you'll have to pay a price. The price you'll have to pay is that the framed picture you have in your office of yourself and Beverly McLaughlin at a gala may have to come down. That you can no longer say, oh, isn't it great? Look at myself and Bev. And I've seen so many of these pictures, I have to say, right? It no longer has this value. It's no longer a token of how you're a member of this in club, right? Who, should be seen as somebody who is, having connections to centers of power and things of this. Yes, you pay a price when you criticize Beverly McLaughlin if you hitch your wagon to her star in certain ways. And people won't even pay that price to preserve, the rule of law for the most courageous examples in the legal profession anywhere in the Commonwealth of standing up for the rule of law. It just shows the kind of value that they put on the rule of law versus their own the preferment and their own advantage, and it really makes me very sad.
Well, I think psychologically, when you consider a person like the Chief Justice McLaughlin, and you've held her up at a standard that is just so much higher, that of a rock star, a celebrity, just like the use of fear, it might bypass a part of our reason, our ability to not to think, but our ability to reason. And so we just kind of believe anything you want.
What you've pointed out is very frightening, that maybe we are losing our resolve and our support for fundamental freedoms, that people are self-censoring.
Yeah, or maybe critical thinking, Chikan. I mean, that was the point you started us off with, and you know, in addition to holding her up for the great things she's done, and for the things she's done for the rule of law and judiciary here in Canada, and common law and development of common law, there are those other elements that we have to consider that we may not be happy about now, and we need to think about those or look at them critically and assess them. You know, no matter who it is.
She wants to do a book tour and promote a memoir where she holds herself up as a defender of the rule of law because she took a firm line about an untoward phone call by the Prime Minister of Canada. She's going to have to answer difficult questions about her inability to step aside when the justices of the court on which she sits are chosen by the equivalent of the Prime Minister.
Very interesting. Yeah, very, very sure. Chikan, any other thoughts? Is there, I don't know if there's anything either of you want to add that we haven't sort of talked about, but, you know, I put that out there, and I also want to make sure that we share your website, Chikan, and Ryan, go ahead.
Me first, because I want Chikun to get the last word, but I'll just say this. The inspiring example of the legal profession in Hong Kong, that so many lawyers have taken this seriously with so much to lose, is so inspiring. And I think that just is what we need to continuously focus upon. And Chikan is really kind of focused on that and the importance of that, of showing that there are so many everyday heroes in the legal profession in Hong Kong. I really think that we are going to shame ourselves and our own inability to, when the stakes are much lower, take a stand to preserve the rule of law. That is one of the reasons why this issue deserves so much attention. It's not just that what's happening in Hong Kong is so grave, it's that it exposes our own moral cowardice and really makes us take a long, hard look in the mirror and say, if something like that happened here or is happening here, what would I be doing? What position would I take on these things? Because these people are showing this an outstanding example of how important it is to have a moral commitment to the rule of law.
Certainly now, you know, with a smaller example of the erosion of rights with COVID, you can see that there is a lot of debate about that specific thing. And what the expectations are, not only for lawyers and legal and paralegals and others in the profession, but everyone as a citizen of Canada. You know, that very interesting. Chikan?
All I will say is, please appreciate what we have in Canada, value it, treasure it, stand up for it, and support it.
And I would add, think critically. I think that is the theme that ran through a lot of our discussion today. I want to thank you guys for both being here. Chikan, where can they find you if anyone wants to find you on the web?
My website is www.chikunshi.ca.
Excellent. And Ryan?
Professors you find at the university. So if you just think about LACAD and Borlaskin Faculty of Law, it's not hard to find me.
And
at least
Twitter or any social media.
Oh yes. I do maintain a minimal presence on Twitter, but don't expect much.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, thank you again both for being here and for this lively discussion. And I am really happy that we had the chance to sort of look at the situation in Hong Kong and what's happened and how fast it devolved over 2.5, 3 years that it's been happening. It is truly a concerning issue.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Joseph.
Real pleasure to be here with yourself, Joseph, and especially with Chikun.
Thank you both.
Thanks, Ryan.